everyone, and welcome back. It's Gina from orchidandopal.com, and today we're going to be talking about how I design with Sam's Bead Box. I just recently opened up the February Dawn and Dusk theme, and you can see those beads below. This is everything that came in that monthly subscription. I'll leave a link to that unboxing in the corner if you haven't checked that out already. And I also have a coupon code if you're interested in trying out their monthly subscription box. That coupon code is ORCHID, ORCHID, and that will save you $5 off the first month of your subscription. I did a video like this a little while back with the bargain bead box, but this is the second time I'm coming back to do something like this, and I wanted to use a different type of subscription that I share here on a regular basis. This one is full of lots of different types of check glass. It's very bead heavy. We have one metallic component, and we also have some beautiful gemstone bead strands. Everything's really high quality, and the palettes change every month, and this one is a really interesting palette that could maybe be a little bit challenging for some people, just because there's a wide range here of colors to work with. I'll be shooting this video in clips to take you on a little adventure as to how I'm starting to put things together and how things are coming together, with the end of the video being the finished result of what I have created, to hopefully give you some inspiration and to share with you a little bit about what goes on in my noggin as I am trying to put some things together from a box of materials that were a total surprise for me to receive. Before we get any further into the video, also stay tuned for the end where I will give you some more information about a giveaway that Sam is hosting for all of you through my channel, where you can win your very own March 2022 Sam's Bead Box subscription box. The link for that and more information will be right down below the video, and I'll tell you a little bit more about it at the end. When it comes to coming up with new designs, there's no right or wrong way, and we definitely all have our own style and inspiration, which makes things more interesting. We don't always want to have the same process, but maybe this will help you see the way I look at things. And generally, when I'm staring at a bead mat full of these gorgeous materials that have just come fresh from a box and they're all laid out, if I'm ready to dive right in, the first thing I like to do is pick out some of the focal components, because a lot of times those are what begin the basis of some of my designs. So we have definitely that large sun bead that could be used as a focal. And beyond that, there are the 4 large wavy orange beads that don't necessarily have to be a focal, but one of them certainly is large enough to be that. So it's possible I will design 2 necklaces around those 2 items as separate pendants, but the thing about this process is it ends up changing a lot from start to finish, so that's just my initial thought. Who knows if that's how it'll end up. But I pick out those focals, and that gets me started. Another thing I like to do is look for pairs of specialty check glass, such as the wavy blue pair of glass oval beads, and also those red and orange swallow beads. Those right there, to me, are an immediate great option for pairs of earrings. And the other thing I'm thinking is that they could be used as connectors for multi-strand necklaces. And one of those beads would be on either side, gathering up the multi-strands into a single strand that would turn into a single beaded strand at the back. One other thing I might be looking for right off the bat with Sam's Bead Box is if there's any really unique shapes that stand out to me. And what I mean by that is anything beyond a round bead or beyond a rondelle or a rice bead or something of that nature. So we can definitely see we have those blue daggers, and we also have the leaf beads, and we also have those 4 brio drops with the gold dusting. Those are going to be something that you're going to want to purposely place, and will take just a little bit more thought than using a round bead that's symmetrical on all sides, because these have a hole that's drilled near the top, so they're going to be hanging down. That may mean I want to use them at the bottom of a necklace, maybe near the front, or with the daggers, I could turn those into some type of bead woven component, or even use them as a type of fringe, maybe off of the bottom of a lariat necklace. Lots of possibilities, but just something to think about if you're planning to make multiple things from one box. The next thing I like to focus on is color, and you can see that I have separated things and grouped things more according to like colors, or more according to things that really coordinate. And that's not to say you have to go with a monotone type of design, or monochromatic I should say, but that's just going to help my mind at least see some of the things that automatically match up. Now, if you're familiar with the color wheel, one way to pair colors is by going with opposites. Not to go into that too deeply, but we have a very good opportunity here with the cobalt blue and the bright orange. Those are opposites. And if you like bold color combinations, that could make for a great combination. You can also use the purple and orange. You could use the orange and reds and pinks to go for more of a sunset look, or the blues and purples to go with more of a moody, cooled down, more toned down look. So you want to think about your colors and what you might want to use together, whether that's putting together all the same types of things or going out of your comfort zone and putting together some bold combinations. All right, I made a little bit more room to the right side, and I usually start to just play around on my bead mat, moving things around and seeing what I like together because I'm kind of a tactile and visual designer. I like to move things around and have sort of a plan as to what I want to put together at least before I get started. And what I had mentioned about the focals, that's usually where I start. So I will pick up one of the focals and I'll put it down and I'll see what other things might I want to put with this sun if I were to turn this into a pendant necklace. Also, when I'm thinking of necklaces, I try to think at the same time coordinating earrings. So what could I use as earrings that would coordinate with the design as well so that I could create a complete set. A couple of options that stand out to me are perhaps using these swallow beads that have similar colors and also that kind of rustic edging that coordinates with the sun beads. So that's one thing that could go pretty well. Those swallows are kind of subtle, so overall the colors would really gel. The other thing I'm thinking is that I could incorporate one of these drops maybe at the bottom of the sun and then bring in two other drops to use in another pair of coordinating earrings. Now those bring out a lot of orange, which does tend to go with the coppery wash that we find in the sun shape, but I'd like to find something that would bring that together just a little bit more. And my eye is going to these beads right here. We've got a ton of these. Those would fill up a lot of space in a beaded necklace. And I'm kind of liking the carnelian too because it's got a lot of different shades of the different orange tones going from lighter to darker, so it kind of starts to bring this together in my eye. Now, will I use those together and come up with something? I might or I might not. I might start to create something and just not really like it as much as I thought I would, and then I'll switch directions and try something else. So I do a lot of trial and error. I'm not afraid to experiment, and I'm not afraid to take things apart. I've just come to learn that's part of the process, and that's how I learn. So that's one thing that I'm just initially thinking about. And then I had mentioned these large orange beads here. Now, they could be used as a pendant because they are so chunky and vibrant. I think they would really stand up to doing some wire wrapping and even using that by itself as its own pendant. It's got the hole that runs up and down through the bead, and you could put a decorative head pin or just a ball head pin through that and then do a simple spiral wire wrap all the way up. It would still allow a lot of that bright orange to show, while also taming it a little bit and still show off that slightly wavy shape that it has. So that could be even just something really simple and create a pendant all on its own. So next I had mentioned about picking out pairs of larger specialty check glass. And so, for example, these two, I might set these aside and think about if I want to use those as connectors for a multi-strand necklace and what beads I would want to use that might be coming off of those. So if you picture these sitting on either side of a necklace that is further up towards the neck, and then you have multi-strands of beads coming down off of those, I could do a multi-strand seed bead necklace with pops of some of these chunkier beads in with the strands, and then do a single strand coming off the back to finish that necklace. And the same thing could be done with these, if not just turned into their own simple pair of earrings if I don't end up using those together. But I'm kind of liking the drop idea. These two large orange beads would also hold up well to a multi-strand necklace idea, as well as make some beautiful earrings on their own. And since we have 4 of them, I'm thinking that I might actually use those for that purpose. And then it would work out great because we have 2 more, and these could be used as coordinating earrings, and that could create its own set. Since these have some yellow here at one side of that gradient, it goes from more of a yellow to a deeper orange, I would probably bring in some of these leaf beads along with that because these really seem like color-wise they would go well together. And maybe I would incorporate those at the front of a necklace using these all together. To add a little bit of depth, I might add some of these darker topaz beads in with a design that incorporates all of these together. And usually I have some more space, so I'm spreading these different ideas out into different piece ideas, and then I'm starting to add to them. All right, so now I'm just beginning the layout phase of everything, and this is just some of the items. I don't even have the pinks and purples in here really yet, except for a little bit with that blue lariat style necklace. So this is where I like to just start to take those ideas and actually place them out to see how they might look as a reality. And this is kind of what I'm thinking so far. So those things that I had mentioned before with the different possible designs, now I've got something a little bit more to go on. I also decided that I might use the daggers here as fringe that are coming off of 2 strands to make a lariat, and maybe bring in some purple along with the blue, as you can see. And the fact that there were 4 of these purple beads means that these could also be incorporated into a matching pair of earrings to go with that necklace. I also pulled some beads over here together to go along possibly with a wire-wrapped pendant using this. And I think that these beads with the swallows actually really coordinate well with that scheme too. So maybe using those in combination. So already that is 4 possible jewelry sets. And that's just from the contents of the box. And we still have a lot of beads that I didn't even incorporate yet that could turn into other pieces. So a lot of possibilities here. And again, this may totally change as I get going, but this is the next step in the process. And then after I start laying things out directly from the contents, then what I would do is go through my stash, maybe pull some different metal components or other beads that I might like to put with these in order to supplement them. Maybe I have a really cool amethyst pendant that I want to put with some of these amethyst beads. And perhaps also, because I've done a lot of tone-on-tone pieces here, maybe there's something I want to do with some of the remaining beads to go with a contrasting color scheme. We'll just have to see, but there's tons of beads left, even beyond what I've already laid out here. But this is truly the start of my process. Again, usually I have things spaced out more. I wouldn't have all of these different designs crammed up together. I like to have a little bit of space around each one so that I can start to hone each one even more and play around even more when I bring other components in. That way I can see the different design ideas on their own. But this is a compact form of what that looks like for me. All right, so let's fast forward a little bit now to some finished pieces based on what we had talked about before. I did end up sticking pretty close to the last part that I had planned out, and I still have some beads left over that I didn't even use, but I will be showing you 4 complete necklace and earring sets and 1 beaded bracelet that I'm really pleased with that came out of these contents. The first set you can see here, of course, this is the one where we had talked about using that large sun bead as part of a focal pendant, and I incorporated those gorgeous orange drops, one of them hanging from that sun bead, and then 2 of them reserved to use in some coordinating earrings. All the beads here came from Sam's bead box, but I did bring in some chain and some coordinating connectors and also some additional findings and wire from my own stash to pull all this together, using some of the antique copper colored metallic components and findings along with the very warm orange. So here's the necklace all laid out. You can see that I went with a 3-strand design, and I used the carnelian beads in the center of those first 2 strands, along with some of those smaller check glass drucks that combined some of that red and orange together with the clear towards the end of those strands. I used up the entire strand of carnelian, and I did end up mixing those colors together, even though in the strand they were set in a gradient pattern. And then for the 3rd strand, I used an antique copper chain, which is simply holding the sun focal bead and drop at the bottom of that, giving this the appearance of maybe 2 separate necklaces that have been layered together and coordinate, but are pulled together with those connectors on each side that I had from my stash. And then I used a little bit more substantial chain to finish up the necklace around the back, as well as a lobster clasp closure. Next, you can see these earrings, which have a very simple wire-wrapped loop attaching those orange drop beads to another segment with one of those check glass drucks. And I used these coordinating kidney-shaped ear wires as findings to finish this off. Next up is this lariat style necklace that is very bead heavy. I combined a lot of those cobalt blue beads and some of the purple beads in with this necklace and earring set. And I used the dagger beads, as you can see, wire wrapped to the end of segments of chain that I pulled from my stash to act as fringe along the edges. Since we had gotten 4 of those table cut purple beads, it was perfect because I could use 2 of those towards the ends of the lariat necklace and reserve 2 to use in coordinating earrings. And all these beads came from Sam's Bead Box except for those little silver spacers that you see that I use periodically in between some of the beads. I used some more of those chunkier purple rondelles toward the end of either end of the lariat so that those would be more visible when this is worn, because this is one of those necklaces where it's actually one single strand of beads, but then you can use this simply tied together at the front of the neck, either lower down or higher up, depending on what's more comfortable. And so I used smaller beads as I went further towards the center of that single strand, which would be at the back of the neck. Of course, I also used those 2 wavy blue beads at either end. Since we want to make sure those don't get covered up, they are a little bit more special and really add to the bottom of this necklace. Here's another view of the necklace and earring set with those sides hanging down. You can see at the bottom where those blue wavy beads are, I turned those into connectors with a piece of wire wrapping loops on either side. That's how I connected those to the actual strands of beads, and also allowed for that loop on the bottom to gather up those different lengths of chain that are holding 1 dagger bead each. For the beaded portion that goes up and around, I tried to focus on using those silver spacers mainly around the purple beads just to set those apart from the groups of blue, but I did use the blue round beads, the bicones, and those more organically shaped rondelles in a pattern that repeats itself to the other side. Here's a look at the single beaded bracelet that I created using mainly the pink and reddish garnet chip beads. The only other beads I brought in were the spacers that I had in my stash, and I used the toggle clasp that came inside the box to finish that up. I created 2 strands that are the same, with the chips positioned in a way so that they would be the most prominent and framed out with the spacers, and also incorporated some of those larger check glass fire polish beads to add a different size and also a little bit of extra lightness, since parts of those beads are more crystal clear. Up next, I have that pendant necklace where I had done some simple wire wrapping on the vibrant, wavy, chunky orange bead there at the bottom. And I did use 2 of those further up the necklace. This is one consisting of beaded wire wrapped links that are looped together. And I also brought in those reddish swallow pressed bird beads as another accent and shape and size to balance out the upper portion of the necklace. Again, I used those small druck beads that are clear and red and orange to bring all of those colors together. And then I finished this one off with a lobster clasp from my stash. This one actually doesn't have earrings that I made to go with it, so I misspoke on that. This is actually not a total set, it's just a necklace. Although I do have some extra druck beads that match this necklace, so it's definitely something that could still be created to turn this into a complete necklace and earring set. Here's a closer look at that large orange bead that I turned into a pendant, and it's all one strand of wire that I used going down the length of the bead after forming the loop at the top, and then bringing that wire up from the bottom, coiling it around the bead going up towards the loop, wrapping it around to secure it, and then finishing off with a simple wire spiral on that side. And then there is a look at the back. I did something similar with the 2 larger orange beads that are up the necklace. Since they were so big and chunky, just added a simple loose coils of wire around those wire wrapped beads. And then last but not least is the final set I created, this one using those light topaz colored leaf beads with the AB coating. I decided to keep the AB coating on the other side to really bring out more of the yellow as opposed to that extra bright metallic AB coating that still shines through on the other side. As I expected that I wanted to do, I also brought in some of those darker topaz rondelle beads to add some more dimension. And the only beads here from my stash are, again, the copper spacers. And you'll notice I used 2 of the flat yellow to orange gradient glass beads that are wire wrapped and act as connectors for this multi-strand necklace with a rondelle on either side. And I finished up the back of the necklace with some chain from my stash. And I was still left with 2 of those flat round beads to use as earrings that coordinate with the necklace. I just used a small segment of chain off the bottom of the wire wrapped link. I added some wire wrapped loops to the tops of each of those leaves and then attached those at various lengths on the small segment of chain with jump rings. So even with all those pieces done, even more could be created from the contents. You really get so many beads in the subscription. You can see that these are all the beads that I have left over, and I didn't even touch the amethyst rounds or the purple rice beads, which are both lovely, but I figured I would stop there with all the pieces. I think that gives you a good idea of how I approach this process already with what I shared with you. Hopefully that's the case anyway. And about that giveaway, if you would like to win next month's Sam's Bead Box, just visit the link that I've left right down below the video. That will take you to a simple entry form directly on my blog where you can enter to win. These simple requirements are that you follow both my channel and Sam's Bead Shop on YouTube and sign up to be a subscriber of Sam's Bead Shop. That is all for the required entries. 1 contest entry per person. This will be open worldwide to all viewers 18 years of age or older. Also, if you're interested in signing up for Sam's Bead Box, be sure to check out the link for that down below in the description section, and you can use that coupon code ORCHID to save $5 off the first month of your subscription. I want to give you all a huge thank you for joining me. I hope this was helpful for you and enjoyable to check out a little bit more about my process, especially with a different kind of box that I hadn't shared before. Feel free to leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think of any of these pieces or what your process is, anything else you'd like to share. Definitely give the video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and don't forget to subscribe while you're here anyway, because I would love to have you back. You can also share the video with all of your bead-loving friends or anywhere else that might be relevant. But that's all I have for now. I will be back again real soon, of course, and until next time, I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. And as always, happy beading.